Hello, everyone, and good morning. Today's event is what is value chain and what is incentive. This is the continuation of the BIM Zero series. This event is created and developed by BIM Freelance and sponsored by BIM Week and BIM Campus. Joining us today is again José Carlos Lino, an engineer and professor at University of Minho. He is the founder of Newton and partner and co-founder of BIMS. He's the CEO of Nosso BIM, academic director of the International Master BIM Manager in Portuguese, and member of Infra Room at Building Smart International. Hello, José Carlos. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be with you again and to exchange some ideas with our attendees. Let's go for it.
Let's go. I would like to thank, also thank the audience that's here today. And we'll jump right to the questions. So firstly, and I will go directly to the point, what is the value chain?
Well, value chain is a set of activities that an organization carries out to create value for its customers. In each one of the links or steps of that chain, we are adding value. So the value chain terminology, let's say. But the final goal, it's towards the customer.
Okay, so, for whom is this value chain generated?
As I've just said, this value chain is always focused in the final customer, okay? The value added in each one of these steps aims to satisfy the quality defined in the requirements by the customers. That's the purpose of a value chain.
Okay. So, the value chain, is it generated throughout the whole life cycle?
Yes, absolutely. The value chain is always present throughout the whole life cycle. Lots of people think that the value chain only appears in the designing phase, in the production phase, in the assembling phase, or in the construction phase, very much related with the industry ideas of automotive industry, aeronautics industry. But in fact, in our construction industry, the value chain is present during the whole life cycles. There are lots of parameters and characteristics of each one of our products that are maintained and updated throughout the life cycle and mainly during the operation and use phase. Okay.
And according to Patrick McLeamy, what is BIM Boom? The profit is not in the construction, which accounts for only 20% of the life cycle cost of the building. Could you please tell us more about it and explain it a bit to us?
Absolutely, Daniel, thank you. And great greetings to Patrick McLeamy, one of the greatest names in BIM that precisely launched this BIM Boom, where BIM, we know what it is. BAM is BIM assembling, the word of assembling or construction, and boom, this operational and use, let's say, phase. So Patrick McLeamy, as others, precisely refer that the value added, it's not only in the early phases, but also in the operational. And Patrick McLeamy mentioned it, measured by 20%. So when you spend 1 unit in design, you will spend 10 units in construction And then you will spend 30 units during the construction phase, during the operation and maintenance phase. So 1 unit in design represents 10 units in construction and 30 units in the operation and maintenance phase. So the greatest value is in the operation phase. It's on the phase of using the product. We tend to forget this, and we tend to have a short vision only for the CapEx phase, that is the initial investment on design and construction. Patrick McLeamy pointed this to us with the idea of open our eyes for the most important phase of spending and of using this asset, that is the operation phase. Okay.
Okay, so this goes beyond design and production. The operations are largely where it's going to be, where the value chain is going to be generated, right? Where the value is going to be generated.
Undoubtedly. And I will refrain, not only where value is going to be generated, but also when value may be lost. Attention, because during operation phase, imagine that if you have a less optimized design or a construction that was not considering the operation phase, both of them will result in less efficient processes, so resulting in a loss during the operation phase. So we may pay attention on our value chain, not only for the gaining that we might have at the end, but also the less efficient processes that may result in losses.
Okay, so picking up the cue here and talking about financial skills specifically. Okay. You know, there are certain financial concepts that no AECO professional is taught, such as, you know, assets or present value. Do you think this is a handicap?
Yeah, in fact, I do. I think that sooner or later, each one of the professionals in the AECO industry will need to be familiar with these financial concepts that you are talking about. These are concepts that the professional has, but does not conceive them applicable to their activity. So the difference between present value and asset that represents the value that the company will have in a future moment, let's say, is something that our sector has not traditionally incorporated. I suppose that mainly we are dealing with departments that are working aparted like silos. So we are not overlapping financial information, financial knowledge, financial skills and competencies, which will result in less productive processes, in losses, and also in misunderstandings that are not good for the final product and for the client.
I suppose that is a very important point. And so do you think that those financial skills should be incorporated in AECO studies?
I do. In fact, in more or less way, some universities, some schools all over the world are trying to give a glimpse of these financial concepts to our architects, to our engineers in their process of in their learning process. And not only during the education phase at the university, also during the professional learning throughout our lives, we need to improve our skills in lots of areas, but mainly here in financial skills. Of course, we are not intending to be financial experts, okay? But we need to understand the value over time meaning of our assets. Also, the existence of construction contracts with extension to maintenance or extension to or real estate contracts developed for towards operation, either for rental, either for business, are introducing in our lives the need for these financial competencies. So we need to be prepared to have this financial in our daily base. That's why so many architects and so many engineers in a certain point in their professional lives decide to go and do a master for business administration, for instance. This is a typical case of need of certain financial competencies that our colleagues have, and realize at a certain point they need to increase in their knowledge.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting, and it seems like a very important point. Now, let's go to the second section of the event, and let's talk about the incentive. So I'm firstly asking you, why are the actors involved and motivated?
Well, incentive. An incentive always aims to stimulate or encourage someone to do something. This is an incentive. In business, that stimulation aims mainly to increase the output of the investment and ultimately the customer satisfaction. This incentive may assume financial forms, but also relational boosts in our trust and in our collaborative achievements. Incentivizing means recognizing co-responsibility in decision-making, being aware that my benefits depends on the common outcome. Working collaboratively to a common goal and being incentivized to that will for sure result in better outcomes. So the actors are motivated when they are incentivized and when they realize that the whole ambience is working towards a common goal when where my personal value is contributing in a certain way.
Okay, so, and is it only used in IPD construction models?
Not only, but IPD is very much based in incentive. So IPD is as his main idea that all the stakeholders and also the customer are incentivized to achieve better outcome with a lean philosophy involved. So IPD is the perfect environment for incentivize all the stakeholders involved, okay? Sometimes in, let's say, normal contracts or non-IPD contracts, within them, there occurs partial IPD situations where here and there, we are aiming the whole process. For instance, when we are having contracts for construction of facilities, and we insert the inside of those contracts, we extend those contracts to aim the maintenance of those facilities. So sometimes there are examples of short IPD tendencies within normal contracts, but usually, and responding directly to your question, this incentive is the base of IPD contracts, yes.
Okay, now forgive me for being suspicious, but why does it work? What guarantees me that the mechanism works?
You are forgiven. You may be suspicious as ever, for about everything that we are talking here, because there are lots of doubts. There are no whole truths or only truths. We are always we are changing. The world is changing. Our industry changing. The contracts are changing. So you are very welcome to come with suspicion. Well, in fact, what you are asking me, why do the incentive work in this sense? What does it makes for this mechanism to work? So yes, if the relationship between stakeholders is contractual, it inevitably works because people are committed to a contract. They will need to respond to it. Okay, it's inevitable, but in fact, our jurisprudence all over the world is not yet prepared for contractual relationships. So we are seeing a shift in the jurisprudence panorama that will lead us to shift from traditional contracts to relationship contracts. And on that day, the contract will impose this way of working, will impose our collaborative work towards a common goal, and based on trust and based on incentives, and where each one of us will contribute to the value chain, adding the best of our skills and the best of our capabilities. So this is the idea underneath the IPD.
Okay, so if courts are to be avoided, is the single purpose entity, or so according to AIA, the only possible IPD model?
Well, the courts should always be avoided, okay? The courts exist to resolve litigation, to resolve conflicts, to resolve different points of view. So we should try to avoid that, because going to a court, it's not good for the asset, for the investment, for the ultimate purpose, that is delivering something to a client. This said, the single purpose entity proposed by IAM, you are asking me if it is the only possible IPD model. I do not think that is the only one. But if the project is understood as an IPD-based project, yes, the single purpose entity would be the ideal figure, absolutely, where relationships can be established between all the stakeholders, taking the project as a background, allowing overlapping relations that will reinforce the value chain and the incentive, and ultimately the adding value to the customer.
Very well. So the American AIA, which we talked about just right now, has very well developed families of contracts, right?
Yeah. American Association of Architects has really developed very refined models for contracts, IPD contracts that have previously been tested and that are based on a collective conviction about how to do and how to work. So yes, American AIA is in fact a very good source for everyone that wants to start and to try go in IPD contractual relationship project.
And do you think these contracts will work in other parts of the world, like, for example, Europe, Asia, or Latin America?
Why not? We are in a, and we have already, we can find IPD examples, IPD cases all over the world. Of course, in very small numbers related to the whole numbers of contracts that we are doing right now. But yes, we can already found some examples all over the world. And don't you forget that we are in a globalized world nowadays. And we have seen changes all over the world towards a more beneficial behaviors, changes that have been tried and tested in very distant points. Repeating it, we are copying it, and we are making things happen on the other corner of the world. So yes, good examples are only to follow. Okay, and in this case of IPD contracts, like in any other good change, of course, it would be necessary to demonstrate its goodness and the benefits for all parties before you apply it. It's not only because it's being happening and with very good results in one country that we will copy it to the other country. We need to go to the source and understand what the whole benefits that these IPD contracts bring to us. So let's go for it and let's copy it all over the world. The world and our industry is needing this type of relational contracts.
Very well. I think this just about sums up the whole topic. I thank you, José Carlos, for being here with us, for being available to share all your knowledge with us. We will continue the BIM Zero series later on, so next week. So be register and be looking out for it. Thank you, José Carlos, for being here with us.
I thank you, Daniel, for your hosting, and I thank everyone that was attending. And I wish you good contracts, good value, good adding value to our chain, and very good incentives in your IPD contracts. See you next time. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you everyone who has been watching, and I will see you